Good morning. It's Wednesday, April 3rd, and there's a big deal brewing between the United States and Israel. The U.S. is close to approving the sale of up to 50 American-made F-15 fighter jets to Israel, and this deal is worth more than $18 billion. That's the highest amount of money, the largest military sale to Israel since the country went to war with Hamas on October 7th. And this proves that in spite of the fact that Joe Biden and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu don't agree on a lot of stuff, it proves that the U.S. will continue to support Israel no matter what Netanyahu does. These sales, which consist of the U.S. most sophisticated weaponry, shows the extent to which the U.S. continues to support Israel militarily. Even as the Biden administration officials criticize Israel's operations in Gaza, which have unfortunately killed more than 32,000 Palestinians since October. Now that's according to the Gaza Ministry of Health. Now I have very little sympathy for the Gaza population because they stood by Hamas. They cheered when this event took place on October 7th. So in my mind, the population of Gaza is just as bad as Hamas. Now, I recognize the fact that Hamas is a dictatorship and kept those people under their thumbs. But those people were not on the side of Israel. The population of Gaza is just an extension, a milder extension, but they are like Hamas. They are like the rest of that part of the world. Israel is hated, and we know that Iran is backing all of these factions. And I can say, no matter what Biden does, that they will continue to defend Israel and stand by Israel, and that's a very important thing in this world. And meanwhile, Iran has vowed to retaliate after a strike it blamed on Israel that killed 2 of its top commanders and 5 officials at its consulate in Syria. And that raises the potential risk of a wider Middle Eastern conflict. Well, that part of the world is on tenterhooks all the time. So I think any action by either side could raise the level. The level is always high in that part of the world. And so there's no question that Israel needs as much armament as they can possibly get. And I don't know if those planes will be used as a defense or an offense. But in any event, I'm glad they get that quantity of air power. But the sale is going to be contested strongly in Congress. And that's particularly among the Democrats, because U.S. weapons to Israel have come under intense scrutiny in the last couple of months, because Democratic lawmakers have called for restricting military aid to Israel until it allows more humanitarian aid into Gaza and does more to protect the civilians there. Well, why should they protect the civilians there? Those civilians are their enemies. Those civilians were seen on October 7th contributing to the armed forces that invaded Israel. Those civilians are out there cheering as the hostages were brought back into Hamas's area of the country. So why? Why are we worried about the civilians in Gaza? They are an extension of Hamas. In spite of the fact that they were treated very poorly and have been treated very poorly in the 17 or 18 years that Hamas has had control of that country. Because the hatred of Israel is so strong, it overcomes everything that has happened to the Gazan people. So I don't see any reason for us to be so sympathetic. Now, Hamas's attack on Israel, we all know, killed 1,200 Israelis. And interestingly enough, in spite of all of the stuff that's been going on, we in the United States have stood by Israel. And the U.S. has made more than 100 foreign military sales to Israel. And most of those sales have fallen under a specific dollar amount that requires a notification to Congress. And that's coming from some official who doesn't want his name mentioned publicly. But he let that information get out of the bag. So this $18.5 billion deal is large enough that it requires congressional notification. And the administration informally notified the House Foreign Affairs and Senate Foreign Affairs committees of the F-15 sale in late January. That's according to several people who know what's going on in that area. And this informal notification gives the lawmakers and congressional staff time to review the details, ask questions of the State Department before they send a formal notification to all the lawmakers. And let's hope that this congressional group does the right thing and allows the sale to go through, because Israel needs as much help as they can get. Because everything that they do comes under scrutiny. It's a tough situation for them. It's a tough situation for Netanyahu because he's not very well liked in any place. I don't particularly like the man either. So I'll leave you with that this morning. The sale of jets on top of the killing of Hamas officials. Have a great day. Bye.